welcome. My name is Tim. I wanted to show you the graph and the map of the earthquakes that have been occurring in and around the Philippines for the last 48 hours, 24 hours, and the last week. I am on the CSEM Center for the Mediterranean Euro Seismological Center website, and I wanted to show you some of the earthquakes we've been having and how many we've been having based on their map. Let's take a look at the map. You can see this is a world map. It shows all of the earthquakes that have been occurring. This is the country of Spain and Italy. And as I pan over to the Philippines, you can see there are a lot of red dots, and they indicate earthquakes here in Southeast Asia. Well, I wanted to show you, this is the last 24 hours of earthquakes in Southeast Asia, and I want to set the magnitude of these earthquakes to 4.5. I wanted to show you how many 4.5 and above earthquakes have been occurring here in Southeast Asia, and this is over the last 24 hours. Let's zoom in, and you can see this is what they consider the Ring of Fire. You heard a lot of people talk about the Ring of Fire. That is a zone, a region that outlines from the Philippines. It goes up toward Japan, to Alaska, and then the west coast of the United States, and then down into Central America and South America. So this here is the Ring of Fire. And you can see how many earthquakes have been occurring near the Philippines. These are major fault lines you see in dark blue. And here's a major fault line that runs just east of the Philippines. And as I zoom in, you can actually see there's actually two fault lines in this area, just east of Davao City. And then you have Cebu City. This is Cebu right here. This is where I am located right now. And you can see that Cebu is an island that is surrounded by other islands. And that's why a lot of people like to live here. It's somewhat protected by tropical storms and typhoons, but that's another subject. And here you have the Philippine Sea, and I'm showing you all of the earthquakes in the last 24 hours that occurred with a magnitude of 4.5 or above. And you can see there's a large concentration just east of Davao City in southern Mindanao. And you can see this is a 6.1 magnitude earthquake that occurred yesterday, or actually last evening. I believe it was around 10:30 p.m. local time. If you look at the details, you will see local time is 22. So it is essentially 10:33 p.m. last evening. That's when that earthquake occurred. And I did feel that one. I felt the floor of the condo building move a little bit, and I saw the water in the water fountain that I have. I saw that moving, and I was wondering what is going on. And then I found out that there was a 6.1 earthquake located right here off the very, very near Surigao. Surigao Island is located up in here, in this region. This is where Surigao City is. I believe this is Surigao Island. That's a very popular tourist destination. Keep in mind, Cebu is here, and that 6.1 magnitude occurred here. And I did see the water in the water cooler move. I felt the floor move just a little bit, not much, but you can see here is a 4.9 that occurred yesterday. Here's a 5.5 that occurred yesterday as well. 4.5 occurred That was this morning, I believe. And here's a 4.6 that occurred yesterday as well. And they're all located very near this large fault line that runs on the east side of the Philippines. And then you have one here, a 5.0 that occurred yesterday in Luzon, which is a little bit north of Manila. Manila is located right here. And I wanted to show you all of the activity going on in the Philippines. And that's over the last 24 hours. Let's take a look to see if there's anything going on in the last 1 hour in the Philippines. Again, that's anything over 4.5, and that's what a lot of these geologists kind of benchmark as a dividing line between large and smaller type earthquakes. So let's look at the last 48 hours of earthquake activity in this region, and you can see there are a lot of earthquakes that occurred 4.5 magnitude and more in the Philippine area. And you can see all of them here just east of Davao City along this fault line. Look at all of these earthquakes in the last 48 hours. There's a 6.9 magnitude earthquake that happened on 2 days ago. Here is a 5.1. And occasionally, I will feel these in my condo unit. I'll feel the floor move a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm hypersensitive because I'm living through all of these earthquakes, if I'm actually feeling it or if it's just in my mind. I'm not quite sure yet, but it seems like at times I will feel the floor move a little bit. And then I look at the water cooler and I don't see the water moving. So I think a lot of it is in my mind. But this is the last 48 hours of earthquake activity here in and around the Philippines. 4.5 magnitude and higher. Now, if I would set this to something lower, let's go to 3.0. Let's look at all of the earthquakes with a 3.0 or above magnitude over the last 48 hours. Look at all of these quakes. These are considered to be aftershocks, and they're located all along this fault line just east of Davao City. Let's take a look up north. You have a few. Again, you have some here, and maybe these are the ones that I'm feeling just north of Cebu City. This is in the Bogo area. This is where we had that the 7.2 earthquake about 10 days ago. And you can see they have a lot of them going on in the northern part of Cebu Island. 3.0, 3.2 in Negros. Here we have another 3.2, and you see them. Leyte 3.0, they considered that one to be in Leyte. And this is the last 48 hours. And then here you have one, a 4.5 in Leyte. And when I was here visiting for 3 months in January, February, and March of this year, I stayed at a condo unit here as well. There were a bunch of smaller earthquakes over here in the Leyte area. And here I am in the Cebu area, and I could feel some of these smaller earthquakes back in January, February, and March of this past year. And now it seems to me like a lot of this earthquake activity has moved a little bit south and a little bit east along this major fault line. Now let's set the timeline to the last week. Over the last 7 days, these are the earthquakes with a 4.5 magnitude and higher that occurred over the last week in the Philippines area. Let's zoom out. You have some here in Luzon, a 4.7. Here you have one just north of Manila, a 5.0. You have a 4.9 in Luzon. And then let's let's zoom in on the Cebu area because that's where I am located. Take a look. This is Papua New Guinea, and I did bring you a video indicating there were earthquakes down here, and it is actually fairly close to the Philippines. Here's another major fault line running through the Philippine Sea, or just east of the Philippine Sea, along the Pacific Ocean, and you will see there's a ton of activity here. And there have been and I think I read over 10,000 aftershocks since that 7.4 quake hit Bogo City, and that was 10 days ago. And you can see these are all over 4.5. And you can see how many are east of Davao. And then you have this 6.1 that occurred last night, and I did feel that one. And then down here, you have, let's set this to higher than 6. So let's look at 6.0 earthquakes over the last 7 days. So over the last 7 days, you have several earthquakes greater than 6.0. You have 3 of them that occurred here. You have a 6.1 that occurred last night, and then you have the 7.4 that occurred 2 days ago. And I did feel the building shake on that one. It wasn't nearly as bad as the 7.2 in Bogo City. And then you had the 6.9 that occurred 2 days ago. So in the last 7 days, we've had 3 earthquakes I would consider major: 6.1, 7.4, 6.9, and a 7.4 here in the Philippines, all along the Ring of Fire. And I wanted to bring you this video to let you know that there is a website, or several websites you can go to view the earthquake activity. I do have an app on my phone that will send me a message if there is a major earthquake in the area. So now I'm setting this at 4.0, the magnitude at 4.0 in the last 24 hours. Let's just look at all the 4.0 earthquakes in the last 24 hours around the Philippines area, and you can see all of these dots. There are a lot, and they're all down here east of Davao, right along that major fault line. And then you have one here in Leyte at 4.6. You have a 6.1, and then most of them are down here: 4.9, 4.4, 4.6, 4.6, 4.0. So there's a lot of activity, a lot more activity than when I was here in January, February, and March. And the activity has shifted southward, because when I was here 4, 5, 6 months ago, there was some activity up in the Leyte area, and they were all small. There's a banner going Western Turkey has some earthquakes. But this is a awesome website. It shows you graphically where these earthquakes are occurring, and by far the most active area in the world seems to be right here in the Philippines. So that is your video for today. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Feel free to share the video with anybody who feels interested in this content. Take care and stay safe.